Come out with me tonight. Come not just out, but out. For delicious hiding, for best versions, big moves, fast choices. The night is crunchy, inviting, open for business, constantly tilting, enemy of dawn. Come out tonight, let's climb down untethered drain pipes, let's swim in celebrated oceans, let's get admitted to literary hospitals, let's make out with Bauhaus waitresses, let's cross serendipitous bridges, let's drink milkshakes in graveyards. The night is a smashed lamp, an empty inbox, a flammable cactus, a harmless explosion, a backliver tower, an indigo dickhead, and it never ends until it does. And then morning hits. Dawn insists. Ugh. Morning. That brutalist cruise ship. That perky entrepreneur. That confronting leotard. That demoralising saxophone. That naked seminar. That opportunity for growth. I'd love to love daylight, but I'm mourning the starlight. Please say you'll come out with me tonight. Hi. That was a new poem about how much I miss those those crazy nights out where it starts with a pint and then ends up in a different place. And it's a funny thing to miss, I miss obviously at the moment in lockdown, I miss like my family and my friends, but I do also miss those nights out in a socially distant picnic. Doesn't quite cut it, does it? But no, it's lovely. All right, I'm going to do one now about people pleasing. Any people pleasers in the house? Let me hear you say hi or something lovely. This is actually called Lovely, and it is it's about being lovely and what happens. I dated my friend Rebecca, but it didn't work because of conflicting texting styles and the different ways we speak to babies. Then she got a new girlfriend who didn't like me, despite my plan that she definitely would. There are loads of people I don't like, but I am good at hiding it with my face. I'm lovely. Maybe she's like bad at face stuff. Or maybe she knows there's a cost to being lovely that you pay later, your face wretched with effort. All right, this next one's about blame. I always want to write a love poem from the perspective of someone who's in love and it's going well, but I try and write those poems and they end up being quite boring. So this is sort of, I always end up writing about like the sticky bits, and the bits where it's all fallen apart and you're trying to figure out whose fault it was. This is called Scapegoats. Looking for a scapegoat? Same. Let's do some lovely therapeutic blame. Let's start with origins. Cornwall. Blame pasties, Land's End. Let's blame Fat Willie's Surf Shack. Blame scones. If that feels predictable, get weird. Blame the chairs you sat in at school. Maybe if they'd been beanbags, thought lightning would have zinged you from annoying to cool. But chairs are just chairs, let's not blame the chairs. Go back, go big, blame Hitler. too obvious. Try Jackson Pollock, the splatterers and the you can't know what this means gang, the concepts, the Damians. Or if it's family you're after, blame that cousin with the Christian hair, your father's hands, your mother's voice, that secretary who wore longing like a lanyard. Blame Rachel, Ross, Walt Disney, Hugh Grant, all nostalgic narrative and don't watch films again. Blame the men, the sad men, the way they came round again and again. Blame the beauty standard and the numbers in the food. Blame billboards. Blame Fox. Blame peers. Blame Goop. Blame the Queen for not knowing us and that PE teacher for being surreal and mean and the things from history class that wouldn't stay in. Blame him. Blame the sunrise smoking sessions and the all duvet mornings you'd planned to make post-jogging, pancake flipping success stories. Blame his sister, actually, because her wedding was boring and that was the reason you puked on your feet. Blame books. The column by your bed, the way it wobbled and shook. Or something colder. Blame the snow and the things you saw in its melt, the dog shit slush puppy and the dead wagtail. Blame the hospital smell that wouldn't wash off and the foggy late night big shop when you were too hungry to not just buy crisps. Blame your ex-boyfriend's boxes still under your bed. Blame Austria. Blame jazz. Blame pop. Look up. Blame satellites. Blame sky. The lost telescope instructions, the meteor shower that never came. Another universe. This universe. Your country. Your town. Your flat. You're getting close. Back up. Look down. That was about how it was all your fault all along. No, obviously not, but I'll tell you what I realised, which was quite helpful to me as an idea. I realised that whether or not it's your fault, it's always your responsibility. Do you know what I mean? I feel like when I've said that sounds very obvious. It sounds like a little bit of insight that's blown my mind open, but something you just already knew. And I feel like that's the way I move through the world, you know. that is why I am a poet or write poetry. Saying I am a poet, it's grim, isn't it? But that's probably why I write poetry, because I struggle with the things that people seem to just intuitively know. This is about forgiveness. That was about blame. This is about forgiveness. Don't know how you guys are with your parents, with your families, but I don't really know anyone for whom it is easy or kind of simple. So anyway, this is called Raised by Humans. I woke up in this body again, and I decided to skip the brain chat, drive to the North Sea, throw the whole thing in. I don't know about you, but I was raised by humans. They held me against their chests. Then, when I got annoying, they put me down and grew bitter. They missed their lazier lives. Hissed lines I've repeated in well-lit rooms with tissues close to hand for £50 an hour. I've had enough of that. Today, older than yesterday, I'm okay with being made from their mistakes. I know that this skin isn't the worst thing I could live in, especially when in waves. I like myself wave smashed. And I like everyone else more too. Have you had a swim recently? I hope you have. I really hope you have. What was the first film you watched? Mine was Pretty Woman. I was 9 years old. I was at my friend Gemma's house, and we watched the film Pretty Woman when her mum had gone to bed. And I don't know if you've seen that film. It's Julia Roberts and Richard Gere, and Richard Gere, Julia Roberts is a sex worker, not the language of the time, and Richard Gere picks her up and asks her for directions, and they end up going to his house, and then he ends up like sort of buying her time for a week, and then they fall in love, despite this huge power imbalance, and the fact that he's quite horrible to her, and his friends are horrible to her, but like he's also rich and like kind of, I don't know. She also solves all his problems because they have a bath and she wraps her legs around him and talks to him about his daddy issues. So he gets quite a lot out of it, and I guess she does too, according to the parameters of the film. So I don't know about like the messaging of that film in terms of like little Cornish girl at 9 years old. I don't know what that did to me, and I know it's according to my last poem. I can't blame Hollywood for my shortcomings, but that is precisely what I'm about to do in this piece. It's called Pretty Woman. I spend countless years aspiring to be rescued. Then I flip it, focus on fixing tricky boys. Then, ecstatically maudlin, I finally figure out how not to see Richard Gere in my peripherals, how to be decent to myself. I turn autonomous holy, deconstructing Love Actually, pretending that comes naturally. And now, first half done, there's this drabness to real life which makes you not want to have sex. I hope there is a way to find this drabness hot so that I can be fucking my way through my second half, fatter and glad and finally free from what Hollywood taught me. Just a silly one, just a silly wee one. I promised myself I would do this. I would do this as like a one take because that's like the most like a gig, you know what I mean? But it's hard when you say things like it's a silly wee, and then you just have to live with that. Anyway, I am gonna read this one, which is about. So I always wanted to write for film and television, and I tried really hard to do that, and I got to the point where I was like doing it a little bit and having meetings with film and TV guys, and you know that thing of when you really want something and you cling to it and you don't really question why you want it, or the ways in which you want it, and then you get it and then it's not what you thought it was going to be. So I ended up sort of in a lot of meetings with TV people that I thought would be very exciting and creatively fulfilling, and ended up just sort of being 3 white 28-year-old posh men called Josh sort of negging me a bit, and then I'd leave the room and then nothing would happen with the project, and that happens a lot. And one of the things about the Joshes is that the TV Joshes, they all live in London, and if you don't live in London, they don't understand it. So a lot of the meetings I have with TV people end up just being me getting negged and justifying Norwich to them. And that is not what I got into it for. So yeah, this is about that. And like, I don't know, man, I'm lucky, you know, to have the life I have, but I do think that that they are ripe for gentle ribbing, right? Because like, we have to challenge those gatekeepers, don't we? Because the gatekeepers are the people that determine, you know, what gets made, what gets put in our eyes, and those things are powerful, you know, like Pretty Woman. Like, who decided that was the film of the year? Like, it was probably some Josh's, right? But some Hollywood versions, so like More Cigars. This is so yeah. What I've done is, I live in Norwich, by the way. Spoiler alert. What I've done is I've made a list of the things that they have said to me in these meetings. Some of the wilder things, and I have exaggerated a couple. I'm not going to lie to you about that, but not as many as you might think. This is called Things Said to Me in TV Meetings. So, yeah, no, we liked it. Yeah, good stuff. Just one thought we had, though, about your script. I mean, not this, but something. What about if we change the gay? Josh here has never met a gay like yours. Could we possibly make him more gay? Or less gay? Maybe not gay? I like your shoes. Are they from the 90s? Norwich. Is that in Cornwall? So it's quite subtle, this, which we love. But we're not really doing subtle this year. We did too much subtle last year. And him working in a fruit and veg shop. Do people actually work in fruit and veg shops, though? And he's Muslim, is he? Sadly, that won't fly. So we need you to make this 35% funnier. Also, more trauma if pos, like your trauma, ideally, like really get in there, make it bigger, raise those stakes and make it hotter. Was it hot, would you say? Let's say it was. Norwich. Wild. How do you get there? So, as working class guys from the Surrey Hills area of outstanding beauty, we really relate to this character struggle. But people won't watch it if she's a woman. We love women, but men don't watch women's shows. We do, but men don't. Women rarely do. You remind me of Emma Stone. Emma Bunting. Have you seen The Demon Headmaster? Your script reminds me of that. Have you been to an escape room? Your script reminds me of that. Have you read Lena Dunham's deleted blog post from 2013? This reminds me of that. Have you ever had cystitis? This reminds me of that. Have you ever been fucked by someone who's wearing a Tony Blair mask? This reminds me of that. Have you ever seen Jaws? This reminds me of that. But if Jaws was a man and the sea was all women. So, Norwich. Is that where that guy is from? Oh God, it's 2:30. We've got a meeting now with someone else, someone better. I mean, shinier. No, just different. You know, talented. Pastry. Do you want a pastry? Have a pastry. Take a pastry. Okay. Well, what about Norwich? Does Norwich want a pastry? Take the pastries to Norwich. Wallerbridge. Thanks, tons. Really exciting. Connect soon. That was a little bit cynical, wasn't it? But like I say, right for a gentle ribbing. Clinging to a choice you made as a teenager is like turning up at a party dressed as Batman and on finding no one else dressed up, saying, "Oh no, I'm not dressed up either. I just am Batman." And then styling out in a bat cave for the rest of your given life. Just a little cautionary tale there about the things we're obsessed with as kids. Oh, this is a piece from my new book, Stop Trying to Be Fantastic. And this is kind of a love poem. This is as close as I'm going to get, lads. I used to think that the worst thing you could possibly do on a date would be to tell the truth. And I used to think that, and because I knew that this was sort of an idea, I ended up always doing it. I ended up always spilling my guts and oversharing, if that's a thing, which I don't really subscribe to it now, but that's what I ended up doing. And then feeling like, oh my God, I've shared too much. I've been weird. And I was always just afraid of being weird. And like, I feel like we're all pretending that we're not weird, and we're all pretending that we're sorted. And like, I just don't want to do that anymore. I think some people think that if you're like in therapy, if you're like having a little look at your stuff, then it means you're broken. And I kind of think the opposite is true. I think, at least you're having a look at it. Because if you don't have a look at your stuff, then your stuff will eventually come and find you. So I think getting it out in the open. On date 1, in the first 5 minutes. Here's my damage. Let's go. This is called Exhausted by my brilliant solitude, I consider introducing someone to my body and my ghost. They don't recommend getting your ghost out for the lads. Not at this age. Ghosts are for fantasists, kids. Cannabis confessions parked up by the reservoir in older boys' cars. Adult-sized people want to watch long-form TV with those who don't look haunted at all. But I'm friends with my ghost. She has this certain dystopian charm, and she's generous with her cigarettes. And what if this time I found someone whose ghost gets on with mine? Our ghosts could drink or fuck while we were free to roam. Adventures would be easy. We would fall asleep anywhere because we both know what's hiding in the dark. I don't know if you noticed this, but I couldn't help but notice, like a few years ago, over the last few years, this kind of thing that's come into the language, like this sort of lots of language around like winning, right? Like winning at life, or like winning the internet, and like smashing it and crushing it. I hear that a lot, and I see that a lot on social media, like, oh, I crushed it today by blah, 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 blah. It's like, and I don't love it. I don't love it, because sometimes it's just a Tuesday and you don't need to crush it on that Tuesday. Do you know what I mean? And like the pressure of that, and the pressure of seeing everybody else allegedly crushing it, is quite unhelpful. And there's also a narrative going around, doing the rounds around like self-care, particularly at the moment in this pandemic. And obviously I think being kind to yourself is incredibly important, but self-care has sort of got co-opted, I think, by consumer capitalism, and it now just means buy this like £30 expensive candle, and like have a wank in a bubble bath full of products you can't really afford. And I feel like that is like the same thing. It's the same as crushing it and smashing it and winning at life. And I don't think that, like, that's not what I think of as self-care. I think self-care is something else. So for me, what I think we can do to be kind to ourselves is maybe just collectively agree here today to just lower the bar for everybody across the board. And then, but all of us have to do it, you know. You can't like sneak off and win. We all have to just go, do you know what? I'm just gonna be a little bit more rubbish sometimes. So this is our manifesto for that. It's called You're All Right. You're all right, you are. You're fine. You're 6 out of 10. You're medium cheese. Don't love yourself. Accept yourself. Who's got time to love themselves when the floods are coming and there's a new season of BoJack Horseman? You're all right, you are. You're yogurt. You're fine. You're not a tiramisu, but you know what? You don't have to be a tiramisu. Tiramisu for breakfast is too much. You're all right, you are. You're not particularly inspiring, but you're relatively kind, and you don't need to inspire me, actually. Just be nice to me. Just don't murder me. Just buy me a lager. And you know what? Just a lager, not an 8% craft beer with amazing graphic design, just a lager like Kronenberg, like we used to think was fine. You're all right, you are. You are perfectly acceptable. And what more does anyone want? You're an apple. You're fine. You're a biro. It works. Your flowers from the Esso, they're still flowers. What are you having for tea tonight? Jack potato? Good. Do that. I know it's not paleo, but you don't have to do paleo. That's for Hollywood and cunts. Going swimming, are you? Doing butterfly, are you? Well, stop. Stop trying to do butterfly. It's weird. Just do breaststroke. It's fine. You're all right, you are. There's no shame in you. You're like in Scrabble when someone has a Q and uses it to spell queen. It's fine. You don't impress me much, and I like that. I'm 37. I don't need to be impressed all the time. I've seen Stonehenge. I've seen a fish eating a duck. I've met Robin Ince. Just crack on. You're fine. You're all right, you are. I know we're in this like golden age of television, but until we weren't, and nobody died. You're not a rich and compelling narrative. You're not Better Call Saul. You're Dawson's Creek. And if we open our hearts, we can find you very poignant. Your art, in a way, like a painting of a hare or a picture taken by a mum on an iPad. You're all right, you are. You're fine. You're occasionally funny. You're 6 out of 10. You're an apple, enough. A hedge, enough. A yogurt, enough. A biro, enough. Your hair's nice when you wash it. You're medium cheese. You're a jacket potato, perfectly good. Adequate coffee, $4.99 wine, Kronenberg, breaststroke. I love you. You're fine. You are. You are. Okay. This is called Back to School, and it's just what I wish for you. I wish you clean sheets and fresh thoughts. A little more boldness, a little less meekness. A few new ways to clear the clouds from your mind in this, the spring of your life. I wish you the chance to make things that fall apart. Time to breathe in the dying of the leaves. You are the spring in the autumn, and the songs you love now will love you forever. I wish you power over your ancient reflexive responses and the sense to hold drunken kisses lightly. Shrug. Breathe. Do the next thing, then the next. And remember, no one has ever regretted choosing to go for a swim. Thanks. I'm gonna share one more with you. And again, this is from my book, Stop Trying to Be Fantastic, which you can buy on my website or at the publisher's Burning Eye. My website is mollynaylor.com. I don't know if that was obvious. I guess it's not. Some people have to add a word in, don't they? But I got mollynaylor.com. I didn't get mollynaylor.co.uk. That belongs to it's really strange actually. It's like a child. It's like a picture of a child. It's really creepy. And that's not me if you stumble across that. But on my website you can buy my book, or you can also hear some of my shows and read some of my work. Or you can move on with your life and go, do you know what? I don't know though. I just feel like if you've made it this far, then like you're quite a big fan. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a long time to spend with me, so I feel like you're in now, and you should consume everything I've ever made. No, I'm being a silly Billy. All right, this is the final piece. I hope you're well, and I hope you're looking after yourself in whatever way that you know how to do that. This is called I Kept My Heart in My Mouth. I kept my heart in my mouth all those years. I could only drive with music blaring, making thoughts and B-roads bearable. I'd push my heart to the side with my tongue, feel it tick in my cheek, negotiate food and words around it. It was making me sick. When my stereo broke, I sat there in the hum. Life continued. I had so far to go. In the quiet, my heart shrank, and I finally swallowed it, and it swam down to where hearts should hang. Now, my mouth is empty, and I found I can speak louder, but also that I don't need to. I got the stereo fixed, but sometimes I leave it off. Thoughts roar past like lorries, and I let them. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to Outpost for inviting me to do this. It's a real treat, and I love you and I love the work you do. Thank you. All right. Bye.